and in one of the blackest metropolises in America.
Oh shit!
And I used to have a list of all black soccer players in the World Cup. You know, I was covering the World Cup and stuff. And I remember being in the office and sitting there, and some redneck white boy, a white ethnic MF. So looking at this, what is that? I'm like, it's a list of all the black players in soccer in the World Cup.
Yeah.
And he like got offended by that shit. I'm like, well, what you can do is you can compile a list of all the white people, and you can be happy. What the fuck do you care? I wanted to two black people in this entire newsroom, and you're complaining because I'm trying to take care of my people and put them in history.
Yeah.
And you find that objectionable. Well, just go back up to your little white suburb 50 miles away.
Go back, yes.
And live in the little white world that you got, and let the brothers have their shit.
That's right. Yeah, because history doesn't. Yeah. I mean, history doesn't. In a lot of things, history likes to kind of push those kind of accolades under the rug.
Yes.
And so somebody has to document it.
Yeah, I mean, right. I basically had a list of every black player who's ever been in the World Cup.
Nice.
From 1930 on.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. What do you think? So amazing.
I think that was the whole premise of trying to do this. You know what I mean? Like just so that somewhere in a little time capsule.
Black folk in sumo,
yeah. Black and sumo. Let me go ahead and just do the little bumper right now. Welcome to Black and Sumo with JJ Jones, Christina Griffin Jones, and
Justin.
And today we are honored to have one of the true African American pioneers of sumo in America, Mr. Kevin Carter.
Pew, 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 pew. Oh, we love you, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
I remember the first time I met you, and you had nothing but amazing stories, and I was like, man, I really gotta sit down and have a conversation with you. We were eating pho. It was raining in New Jersey, and there was military exercises at this Vietnamese restaurant. It was real weird. I didn't know what was happening. I was super confused. But I was trapped. I was trapped and pulled in with the RZA stories, all of your Manny stories. I was like,
hey, I never got any of these. I need to know.
You're not cool, Justin Kizzart.
We all got to get together in person. But yeah, Kevin, the history you hold, and not only the history, but the love for the sport and everybody who participated in it, and your commitment to making sure this our participation isn't forgotten, or that any black person comes into sumo in the 2000s thinking that they are the first ever only. That's amazing, and appreciate you and love you so much for making sure that's kept. I was looking at an article or something about AI and how AI is saying how it's creating these things that have never happened, and it had what would it look like for sumo to be? And I was like, there's history being made and that's not being recorded, right? And you were out there making sure that history isn't forgotten. So yeah, you're the bomb, Kevin. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, Kevin, for those who have, who don't know who you are, do you want to give a quick, brief synopsis of who is Kevin?
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm Kevin Carter, and I'm from New Jersey. At least that's where I live now. Been here about 40 years. It's where my interest in sumo didn't come in New Jersey, but that's where my first participation was. I might be known to a much older generation. It's kind of an inside joke. Is Emmanuel Yarborough Sukebito, but That's okay. I mean, you know, I also had a chance to train in Japan and American Samoa, and went all over the world. Fought in the World Sumo Championships 3 times.
Nice.
Did some broadcasting on ESPN. And basically have devoted my life. I mean, I've met and interacted and befriended some of the greatest sumo tori of color that have ever existed. Akebono, Musashi Maru, Konishiki.
Yeah.
All the big Jesse Takamiyama. Henry Sentoryu Miller, who was the first man of African ancestry to be a pro Rikishi in Japan. I got to know Henry when I was over there, and we hung out a little bit. Fascinating dude.
We will definitely. I meant to mention this off camera, but we will definitely be having him next week.
Cool.
Yes. So
that was just
2 thumbs up on that. And I didn't know. I thought from the history, I thought he was in St. Louis, but apparently he's living in Japan right now.
Well, he was born in Japan.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
He grew up there, but went to St. Louis as a young kid. And actually, from what I gather, he lived in Ferguson. You know, the infamous Ferguson.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
The first place. Yeah, the uprisings.
He lived in Ferguson for a few years, and then he went back to Japan and went into Tomozuna Bay, I think it was, or I forget which heya he was in, but he actually made Sekitori and was the first African American sumo.
Oh yeah.
You know, and we've had there have been like 5 African Americans in the pro sumo ranks. And then of course one guy from Egypt, one African.
Osonorashi. Yeah. He's here in the States now.
Yeah, he's a bad boy. Also, I can remember
in a lot of ways.
Because I went and talked to didn't really talk to him at length, but Koto Zakura, who was the head of a Sarakatake Beya, and the old Yokozuna himself. And I just happened to see him when I was in Japan, so I walked up to myself and introduced myself, you know, very basic Japanese, oyakata desu ka, you know, and shook his hand. And I find out later that he wasn't. There were some Senegalese interested in going into Sarakatake Bay.
Oh, that would be sick.
Yeah. And
didn't we have this conversation? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, there were some Senegalese interested in going into Sarakatake, and they basically said, you guys can't do it because you can't get the hair.
Yeah.
Damn.
Chomage.
Yeah, I was there when that happened, and which is kind of funny because, you know, I between Sentoryu and the Hawaiian.
Yeah, Konishiki. I mean,
and we were just speaking.
Akebono doesn't have the chomage. He's got regular black man hair.
Yeah.
Straight up brother when it comes to, most of the Hawaiians are.
Yeah.
Most of the people who you would call pure Hawaiian or close to being pure Hawaiian have straight up African hair.
Well, we were talking to Waka
Ichiro.
Yes.
And because I wanted to know who, you know, what's the process? Like, is there like a black, like
that part? What was the process?
And it was.
It was like, hey, you an S-curl.
Yeah, but come to find out, I didn't know that he actually had to pay for that himself. Like I think every other week or so to get you know, his hair done. Yeah, I was like, damn, I thought that was included. I don't know.
If you got our hair, it's a little more of an effort to do. Like right now, there's a guy, Izakuchido, who's got the hair, and he just got the hair done. It took him a long time, so he's doing that too. But I know from being in Takasago and Azumazaki Beya that Takamiyo, a guy named John Feliunga, John had the nappiest hair in sumo.
I love it. And he's getting an award.
I mean, brother had the hot cold.
Gotta watch out for the back of that neck.
I met Akebono's mom, man, when I was living in Hawaii. I used to go to her. She had a store. I used to go to her store all the time, and I noticed, you know, she had the hair texture too. Man,
I'm telling you, some some black lady, it can make a killing over there and just being the woman to do,
Yes.
She already over there making a killing.
Oh yeah. I bet you there's a Nigerian over there, just like
when I was in Hawaii, we had that.
But she needs to get hooked up though. She needs to be hooked up to be able to do the hair of those, those people. So that whenever there's anybody in the hair, we're like, okay. So what I'm saying, like, you go to this lady and it's just like,
go to Coco Yama-san.
Coco Yama-san.
Nah, y'all, it's way more mystical than that. Them girls like in the back of the salon, and you say. Go back there. It smells like shea butter and freedom in the back there.
Always a movie I wanted to do. You guys ever heard of Earlene Brown?
Earlene Brown?
No. Earlene Brown was a shot putter from the 1960s. She was an Olympic shot putter, lived in Los Angeles, Watts Compton. I don't remember which of the black areas, but she was a hairdresser. And she was known, for being one of the best female shot putters in America in the early mid-1960s. And she was a hairdresser by trade.
Okay. Hustle. You know what I mean? You gotta hustle.
She won a silver medal in the Olympics, I think in '64.
Wow.
And she was known. It's funny. I'd love to have done a movie of her. Like, they had a U.S. Soviet Union dual meet in Los Angeles, and she went out. She took the Russian women's track team out with her and went out drinking with them. And it was just like a movie. She found these Russian girls. She threw them in a bus, and she just had the bus driver all over the hood. And she all throughout the hood with these Russian girls. It was amazing.
Look, somebody call and hashtag pay Kevin Carter for that idea. It's happening.
Real talk.
That's amazing. That's gonna be a dope movie.
It would be phenomenal.
Since I have all of us here, I've heard a debate recently about Black History Month. What's the debate? Idea? Well, okay, so the debate is that it belittles some of the accomplishments of athletes that have done things that happen to be Black. Obviously, this argument isn't from Black people, right?
Yeah.
This argument is from white people that don't understand that we don't get representation. And for 1 month of a year, the shortest month, everybody kind of wants to think about just piggybacking off of us for marketing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I kind of already put my little opinion in there.
So,
I like that.
Hold on. So the other, like, someone is saying, I'm trying to understand what the downside is. Like,
so the downside is that we're making it about race.
Everything is
always about race. That part, Kevin, you better say it.
I mean,
I didn't bring race into it. Race is in the water we drink. It's in the air that we breathe.
Right. And it's what a capoeira master once told me, João Grande. He said, capoeira is what the mouth eats. Well, you know what? Race is what the mouth eats. It's everywhere in America and Brazil, was what he told me. Right. Your entire existence here in this country is predicated on what your race is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would love to live in a world where it wasn't.
Word, but it ain't this one.
It is not this reality. It is not this reality.
And you will make yourself crazy. You make yourself sick trying to deny that race isn't the reason for things. When Jay and I, we started a nonprofit here in San Diego called Maximum Effort Foundation, Kevin, because we want to help kids like us be able to swim, pay for swimming. And we talk a lot about that people believe that Black people can't swim or don't swim, but they don't know that the torment that people put bleach and acid and poisonous chemicals and the water that we would swim in, the way that you're treated in those places, that that water bodies of water that belong to the earth, the world, were segregated. Whole beaches segregated. So it's just like, you know, it's
Atlantic City was known. We were in AC, you know, chicken bone.
Chicken bone, yeah.
Even in, I think in Los Angeles, there was up until the end of the 1960s, Black people couldn't go on to what do you call it? Where's the boardwalk? Shit, Santa Monica.
Yeah.
They were pushed all the way down to Dotweiler Beach.
Yeah.
Wow.
You know what? Like for real.
Yeah.
And
Big told a story about how his grandfather, I believe, used to work. This is in Mississippi. He used to work on some area, and there was a big body of water between his house and where he worked. So he would basically swim over and swim home. And some whites were jealous that he was such a great swimmer. So they put barbed wire in the lake.
That's wild.
And he dove in and was caught in the barbed wire and drowned.
Damn,
That's
God.
sick. That's torture.
It tells you the
It's
pathology
torture.
of what we're dealing with in this country. And people say, "Oh, America's different now." America, hell no. This is still America, and
American KK.
United States of America.
And to not talk about it, to not talk about it, to not honor the instances in history and the resilience and the things that Black people are still trying to survive and navigate is it's an injustice, and it's gonna keep things happening. Here in San Diego, we had like this flash flood happen, and you know, we're interrogating how redlining, right, puts racist practices with housing, puts people, Black people, and Black neighborhoods in the path of harm.
Oh yeah. That's in almost every city. I mean, shit. Here in Austin, actually, here in Austin, Texas, like on the east side, actually, for a long time, was the white side of town, and it was, you know, there's a lot more farmers and stuff like that, because that's the low lying area. And now, but then, and somehow, you know, they kind of shifted because they were like, oh, we should be on higher ground. And so all of the west side of Austin, which is the hill country and bee caves and stuff, that's now the super posh side. And they just left all the poor, you know, Black farmers in the swamps over on the east side. I mean, every city's got those kind of structures. I mean, it's
and have those stories. And it's important that, you know, that history is told and remembered. You know, like
but it doesn't happen today. What are you talking about?
Yeah. They're like that's old stuff.
We had a Black president, for God's sake.
It should all be washed under the rug.
All that
you know?
stuff's in the past. We don't have that problem anymore. America doesn't have racism anymore.
Oh, we wrote the playbook, baby.
So,
oh man.
There was a question I wanted to ask, but my mind just went blank. But JJ, do you have a question for this gentleman? While my brain is thinking, so I need you to.
I can't hear you, JJ.
Uh-oh. Oh no!
JJ's got it.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, there he is.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So my question, I got a lot of stories from you, but my question is, can you tell the RZA story?
Oh,
I want the RZA story. I need the RZA story.
okay. All right.
Thanks.
So I'm on this is in Brooklyn, about somewhere around 30 years ago. Manny was, you know, doing couple things then, within the hip hop community. He did a lot of bodyguarding and bouncing and types of security jobs. So people in the hip hop community knew him, and but he was asked to actually appear in a video for, I don't even remember what the artist was. It wasn't for the Wu, but they had some, especially RZA had some involvement in producing the video and things like that.
Yeah.
So I was there as Manny's Kebito. I mean, I was basically tying his mawashi and just kind of just keeping him company, while he was in this video shoot. So there's a green room in the back of it's like this big sound stage in a kind of industrial area of Brooklyn, and
this is Brooklyn before the hipsters. This is in the 90s, yeah. This was Brooklyn,
but there were actually a lot of black people there, yeah.
Okay. So, straight Jamaicans and shit.
yeah, straight up. And we kind of set up in the room. I had like a bag with my stuff in it, and Manny's stuff was in it. So we were kind of just chilling, and I put my bag on a chair or something like that, and we went outside the room to basically do some of the work for what we were there for. And I walked back into the room, and I noticed that my stuff is scattered all over the room. And I'm like, well, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
It makes no sense. Why would somebody do that? And then I see a chessboard in the room, and I'm like, things are starting to make sense now. Because, a lot of times, people who think they have some importance think other people are not important. Bad move. So I saw that my stuff was scattered all over the way, so I calmly put my stuff back. And then, I saw the chessboard, and I was like, scattered that all over the place. And I said, let me find this motherfucker so I can beat his ass. and I'm like, kind of storming around in my, my little Midori Fuji body, walking around, looking for this dude so I could whoop his ass, because I knew he did it. I mean, I know I had to tell me he didn't do it. It was like, pretty obvious that he had done this because he felt that he could. And I was going to, do a little bit of harite and supari and exhorting and show that motherfucker that he don't fuck with no sumos. And Manny talked me out of it, man. He's like, you beat his ass, but then somebody might shoot you. I'm like, well, then I'll beat their ass too. Like, it's hard to beat somebody's ass with a bullet in your ass. So, I very reluctantly chill, but I definitely messed up that chess game.
Damn. Now, who was playing chess though?
Well, Rich was a serious chess guy. He's really big into chess.
I did not know that. So
he's a serious chess head. So I'm like, well, you're going to have to start the game again, motherfucker. You're going to have to start that game again because...
if he's good, he should know where all his positions on the board.
He should, but I made sure that them pieces were scattered throughout the world. So he would have had to have some homing devices on his rooks and his queens and his bishops, especially the bishops. Because they were all over fucking borough Brooklyn, man. I made sure that they were all over the place.
Damn.
Yeah.
That is
he probably still looking for them fucking pieces.
I bet you some hipster bought a house and they're like, what the hell is this?
Chess pieces.
I have a bishop in my wall.
Look at that.
Well, I should have destroyed the chessboard, but then he would have really been bad, probably.
Ooh.
Then I'll leave everything. Unlike what you did to me, I'll leave your stuff intact. It just won't be where you thought it was.
Yeah. I do have a question for you about Manny. So yeah. I think when I started sumo, he had passed about a year and a half before I had started. And you know, obviously guys like Trent Sabo and stuff, you know, would talk about him like this, like he was a legend and stuff, and
he was a legendary dude.
Yeah. What was he? I mean, we see video.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I see, pictures, and that's all I got. But like, what was it like during that time? Number one, him just knowing him personally, and also number two, competing at Worlds during that time. It's got to be a whole different world, because I mean, I've been to Worlds twice now, and 2020 got canceled, I know that crop of people, you know, from all the nations and stuff, but like, I mean, it must have been like the Wild Wild West in the early 2000s.
It was a totally different atmosphere than what I can at least think that I see now.
Yeah,
totally different.
It's highly competitive right now. It is insane right now.
Well, it's competitive. It was competitive then too, but the level of competition I guess is probably a little lesser, and because you didn't have as many people around the world who were doing sumo. Yes. You did have.
I liken it to like when UFC first started.
Right.
There wasn't now we've got this hybrid, these like freaking monsters who are just hybrids of everything, striking, ground, this and that, right. and but back in in the 90s, man, it was just dudes coming from disciplines from all over, rocking exactly what they would wear in their discipline and shit, coming in gis, and you had wrestlers like Don Fry who rocking his little tiny little his little wrestler outfit.
Yeah, his little
And so I just imagine, in my mind, I imagine, World Sumo being something like that. It's like just hodgepodge of people who came from different sports and are like, I guess I'll try this out.
A little bit like over the top, right?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that, because like the first year I was there was fascinating, because one, I got to meet a lot of the pros from different countries. And the thing is, now you don't have pros from different countries anymore. You really don't. Mm-hmm. Like when I was there were Brazilian pros, Argentine pros, pros from a lot of Americans from Hawaii, which you don't have anymore. And I'll tell you why that is. But anyway, there were a lot of Mongolians even then.
Oh,
but there was one Heya that had a huge amount of Mongolians, and there were other pros from other parts of the world that you don't see now. Like I said, I got to hang with the Argentines and the Brazilians, and that was real cool. Like Ikemori or Ryudo, he was there. Waka Azuma from Brazil was there.
Wow.
Hoshitango and Hoshi Andes from Argentina were there. Those guys were a trip. Henry was there from the U.S.
See, that's crazy that pros at the time, pros were allowed to. I mean, I don't know if is there a rule there?
They didn't compete. They just were there supporting us and watching it. Especially the Mongols. I mean, I remember being like in the Kokugikan, which is great because we got to dress and prepare in the same locker room as the pros, the Kokugikan.
Wow.
And I'd be back there with the Mongolians hanging out, sitting in the bath. There's a Mongolian sitting there and a Russian sitting there, and it was just really great being in that situation.
So pros used to go to Worlds.
Used to go to the Worlds to support their countrymen.
That is so cool.
Yeah, because
why doesn't that happen right now?
We went to the museum in Japan, and when we were looking at it, they kind of talked about that a little bit, how pros were able to feed in. So you would have these random countrymen beating a Yokozuna or something like that. It was a random crazy time.
I used to watch Manny practicing with the Hawaiians, and he would beat on the Sekitori and a lot of the Japanese guys, the Japanese pros. I saw him beat on George Kalima, Yamato. I saw him whoop on some of the other Japanese Sekitori.
Did you see the video that the Federation put out earlier this week?
No. Like 2 days ago.
The Manny video?
Yeah, the Manny video.
Yeah.
So in that video, It's him beating I can't remember his name, but he was an Ozeki.
It might have been it's either Dejima or it was
Yep.
Dejima.
Dejima Ozeki.
Yep, it was Dejima. Yeah, I saw that match. I was there for that match.
Damn.
Yeah.
Big shout out to the
I wish I
Federation
found-
for putting that out. I really enjoyed that video.
Yeah, the
I
guy
just have
who
to say.
ran the Federation died this year, and oh man, yeah, we used to call him Pimp Daddy Tanaka, right? Because when you talk to his staff, he had all these like Japanese American and Japanese European women working for him, and you call him up, you know, and he'd say they would say stuff like, we'd ask a question about, you know, something that we needed, and they would come back and, you know, with a call or just after waiting, say, Godfather say, you know. Refer to him as Godfather.
Kevin, that's gonna be another documentary you gonna be in talking about.
Any person Tanaka. Every time I went to Tokyo, I would bring Puerto Rican rum with me, Bacardi, and I'd give Tanaka a big bottle of it, you know, and he always liked it. And literally, we'd have parties after the Worlds, and I'd show up to where all the Joijin are, where all the what you would call Kokujin, which is interesting because that also with a different kanji that means black people, but Kokujin means, you know, people of status. And because Koku, it derives from the kanji for land, you know, Koku, country.
Koku.
And, the more land you have, the better you are. Like in Hawaii, the word for rich is waiwai, water. So...
you better break it down, Kevin. Come on.
Anyway, so I would go to the parties that Yonesuka-san would have, that Yanni was like my backer. And... my bottle of Bacardi would be empty, man, because Tanaka and his boys would knock it down. And I also used to give little bottles of Bacardi to the other sumos, you know, to the guys. Like I start with the Africans. Like we had guys from the Congo. I used to talk to one guy from the Congo because he spoke Spanish. He spent time in Cuba studying, so we could always talk. So I would talk to the guy from the Congo, and always to the guys from Latin America. The Brazilians, the Argentines, the Paraguayans, the Colombians. And that was an interesting group. The guy who was representing Colombia is a guy named Daja Diogenes Cepeda. And I always used to wonder, you know, he was like a professor in Japan. I actually spoke to one of his classes once when I was over there. I'm like, how is this dude making a living, man? But you know, off camera, I'll explain that to you. But
hey. Colombian, you know, say no more.
That's off camera. That's off camera.
I'll tell you. Yeah. But anyway, it was fascinating. You know, some of the experiences I used to have with Manny. You know, we would go to different Azumazeki, Takasago, Wakamatsu, and Miyagi. No, those were the 4 places we trained when we were over there. And also at Nippon University.
I think, didn't you guys just went to Miyagi Noveya, or was it? No, it wasn't.
It was Kanishki's.
Takasago.
Takasago. Yeah, Takasago Bay.
Yeah, I trained over there too. But I gotta tell you a story about that. But anyway, when it came to I was trying to figure Wakamatsu was another one that we trained at. There's something I was gonna bring up about Manny. Oh yeah. There was a guy in Nigeria back during our days named Okeke. Emeka Baba Mutum Okeke. Okeke was a relatively, you know, fit, athletic dude. I mean, you saw pictures of him like he was a pro wrestler in Nigeria. He was, I don't know, maybe upper 200s, like 285. You know, pretty diesel. He saw Manny on TV and said, "I'm going to do sumo."
Amazing.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about.
You gotta see yourself doing it.
He put on like 200 pounds and went to Tokyo and lived at Nihon University for a year and trained.
Wow.
Because he wanted to be a sumo. And you know what? He ended up getting third in the world. And I was watching. I was, I used to love Okeke because Okeke would be like, "Come home, brother. Come on home." Yeah, like he was, every time I saw him,
I love it. Oh my gosh, I love our folks. I love our folks from the continent. They be like, ain't you tired?
Yeah, like I remember one time we were doing a party, and it's funny because the Tongans had the greatest parties, man. After the so they got ripped and they started throwing these Japanese dudes up in the air, man. It was unbelievable. But everybody had to do a song. So I had the Senegalese. I got plates and cups and knives, and I had all the Senegalese just hit some rhythms out. And I started singing this Afro Puerto Rican song, and singing a bomba, and I did that with the Senegalese, and the Sumos were like, "You like the show, man?
What is going on right now?"
We were doing. I had a serious Afrocentric thing going on, man, and like the Afro Latino thing. And everybody understood. You got to understand too about the sumo on the East Coast, especially in the days of Manny. It was a black thing.
Damn.
We had, Manny. Yeah. We had people like Renee Marte, Lenny Thomas. We had the two guys from Haiti named Victor Jean-Louis and Joe Brutus. Joe Brutus actually fought in the Olympics.
Oh, really?
Was a judo player for Haiti.
Wow.
Okay. Joe Brutus. We had who else did we have? It's funny because like back during the early 90s and mid 90s, we had basically two factions in sumo. We had the Hawaiians and the West Coast.
Yeah.
And we had the East Coast from New Jersey. That was it. Nobody else was doing sumo.
Damn.
Yeah.
I really wish I had found sumo in my 20s, like, because Trent and I are same age, and I'm sure he was like y'all's little young brother, kind of, like little brother of you guys, and just I don't know, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but I wish I could have turned back time and actually have stumbled upon the sumo.
I mean, I was
right
back when I was young, but I didn't have any way of doing it. I really would have loved. I mean, I was like, kind of like the Kimarite department store, like Mainomi or Kyokushuzan. When I saw Ora just this year do
just this last basho. Yeah.
I won a match in LA using that technique in 1994.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, it was a different bend. He used the Izori. I used the Soto Taski Izori to win the match in LA in 94.
Damn.
Nice, Kevin.
Kevin, if you got that picture somewhere, that would be gold to put on here.
What happened was that I had a weak Tachiai, and this guy was some guy from Canada, and he actually had grabbed my neck, and we were kind of stuck there like for a split second.
Yeah.
And I tried to move him back, and he tried to move me back, and we were kind of like at a standstill. So I kind of reached under him and grabbed his leg with my arm backwards, and lifted up backwards and threw him over my head.
Ooh, I bet the crowd went wild.
It did, man.
Oh my God.
John was there. I was like, John, what did I even do, man? like, I don't even know what I did, man. I just did something.
Wow. Yeah, there's a kid right now that's kind of his go-to. Well, he's not a kid anymore, but he's from Ukraine. His name is Semikrov Svetoslav, and the power he can generate from below is unheard of. It's unnatural.
I've seen him grab sandbags that are like 300 pounds, and he'll hug it, and he'll go ass to grass, pick it up, and then toss it. I'm like, how do you?
Yeah, and that's his shit. He moves like a skinny version of Uda. The dude is wild, and he pulls some crazy shit.
I would love to see him, man.
He's around. He usually always makes the world team. I think he ended up getting silver, or no, actually third place. He was pretty pissed about that. Yeah. He was pretty pissed about that. He got third place because he lost to his own countryman, and then his countrymen fought for first and second with Egyptians. And I don't know if you heard what had happened.
All that stuff, man.
Yeah. So Osonorashi went a little like I don't blame the kid, but Osonorashi was out of pocket, like completely out of pocket.
He was out of pocket, but still, there were two backflips. One was done by Egypt, right?
Yeah.
A dark-skinned country. The other one was done by
Ukraine. Yes.
I'm just saying.
One
group got expelled from the tournament.
But it wouldn't
have.
But again, it like had old Sonorashi shit like calmly argued his point.
I gotta plug in.
Sumo would still be in the World Games.
Yes.
I feel like we was acting up anyway. We was on the tight. We was on thin ice.
Yeah, there were multiple factors. I don't remember exactly what it was, but I remember them saying it was multiple factors. But that definitely didn't help.
And the thing is, okay, he ended up either way. Still had to do Torinaoshi or a rematch.
Yeah,
and still got his ass whooped. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Ukraine's got a history in sumo too. I mean, you know that Taiho, one of the great yokozuna of all time, was half Ukrainian.
Wait, what? I need to write
for
this
real.
Taiho, one of the great yokozuna of all time, was half Ukrainian.
I didn't know that.
I'm about to go dig on and find some information. Taiho.
And his grandson's in sumo right now. Taiho's grandson.
Who? Shishi?
You know where he's...
No. His name is. He's one of the Japanese Rishi now.
Oh, okay.
What? No. What's something ho? Taiho. It's not Haku ho. Of course, it's not Haku.
There's a lot of hoes. There's Takanoho. There's Ono ho.
No, it's not. You know what? I'll look it up. Let me do it.
In ho.
No, it's not in ho. But yeah, well, what happens is the ho kanji is a mythical Chinese bird. So there are a lot of people in sumo who let's see, Taiho, who have ho, and including Haku ho and all those. But that's the wait. It is Oho, yeah. Oho is Taiho's grandson.
Oho.
Oh, okay.
Oho. Yeah, he's in the top. He's in the top
division. He's not one of the greats, but he's there.
He's there.
Just like Koto no Waka is Koto Sakura's grandson and Koto no Waka's son,
who is now Ozeki.
Yeah, and I talked.
He murdered it.
And his pop. I had his pops sign my Mawashi.
Wow! Damn.
Yeah, I had Konishiki, Akebono, and Koto no Waka sign my Mawashi when I was over there.
Wow!
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
Christina, you're up. Go ahead and question away.
I was like,
so I'll Kevin, you talk about your like sumo beginnings, right? Like what and that it was it that you and your dad used to watch sumo or like tell me about what got you into sumo, and then when you started to do sumo, kind of what was the reaction of like family and friends around you that you were doing it?
Everybody thought I was crazy, but as a little kid, we used to have sumo on NBC, especially it wasn't ABC's World Sports. It was NBC. I forget what the Saturday sports show was called, but they used to have sumo on every time they had a basho. And the one guy who I really concentrated on was Chiono Fuji, because he was like the king back then.
The wolf.
Yeah, wolf, exactly.
Wow.
and Shoto Fuji, and of course Takamiyama, because at that time Takamiyama wasn't the only American in sumo, but he was the most popular and the most accomplished.
Okay.
But at the time Takamiyama went over there had been maybe 3 or 4 Americans, and most of them Japanese Americans who had been in the pros.
Right.
And when he was over there, a couple guys came in during the 60s and the 70s, but Takamiyama was, basically the guy. And he didn't really start recruiting Hawaiians until he was retired in 81 and became an Oyakata himself. And then he started, using the pipeline from Honolulu and other parts of the island to get Hawaiians to do sumo. There was a guy who was really well known in Honolulu as he himself was a sumo aficionado and a scout, and an old judo player named Larry Aviel, Uncle Larry. That's what everybody called him. And Uncle Larry was known for recruiting guys from Hawaii. He's the one that got Akibono and Musashi Maru over there.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Oh,
wow. But back to how I got into sumo. So when I was young, I was, unfortunately, my father passed when I was a baby. So I wasn't able to have much time with him. But I would watch sumo on TV, and a lot of times it's just me watching sumo by myself. And I just tried to get as much sumo as I could into myself. And then I started reading books about it and things like that. And I went to college, and even when I was in college, I was, telling people that I was into sumo and stuff like that. Like, the few Japanese people that I knew over there, we talk about sumo. And I actually considered going over there, like, just totally cold and trying to get the sumo. But, I decided I would stay here and try to make a success of myself in my business and in my academic life. What an idiot I was. But, so I got it.
Doing all right.
I got it. Yeah, I got a house. Yeah. I got into journalism and worked for the Philly Inquirer mostly, although I did internships at the New York Times and the LA Times.
Amazing.
And,
Nice.
So I got into the Philadelphia Inquirer and worked there for 13 years. And one day I was sitting at my home. I had just come home from work, and I turned on Channel 10 News in Philly. And they did this, I saw this enormous black man blasting people out of a sumo ring. And I was like, yo, what the hell is going on? So I called the station and, told them who I was and said, I want to do a story about this guy. And they gave me his contact information through Yanni in Cranford, New Jersey. The next day I drove to Cranford, New Jersey, and introduced myself to Yanni and to Emmanuel Yarborough, and wrote a story about him for the Philadelphia Inquirer. And, basically, that's where the friendship started and the mentorship started. I mean, Yanni's my sensei and Manny's my buddy. And we hung out together for as many years as he had left. And, that's where cool. Kind of the love affair with sumo began, and my relationship with Manny began. So I also, it was weird because there's a guy up in Canada, he's still there today, named Charlie Bray, African-American guy. He used to be a Canadian Football League player who had a few games with the New York Giants in the 1960s. And I don't know how we got in contact, but he told me, we're going to have a sumo exhibition up in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. And I stopped everything, dropped my wife and kids in the car. We drove up to Hamilton, Ontario.
Yes.
My first sumo action. Manny was there, and some guys from, basically it was a dual meet. We had 5 guys from the United States and 5 guys from Canada.
Sweet.
And we competed, and I went 8-7 and won the technique prize.
Let's go.
Yeah. That was my first sumo exposure as an actual sumo.
Is it that tournament that got you connected into the Night of the Giants?
No, not exactly. that came a little later. So I did that tournament, and then I got in contact with John Jacks out in Hawaii.
Yes.
Hey, shout out John Jacks.
Yeah, and John would have tournaments first of all, he had tournaments in Newport, Rhode Island every year, because that's where it's called the Black Ships Festival. That's where the ships sailed from that ended up confronting the Japanese and opening up Japan. So Newport, Rhode Island has the Black Ships Festival every year. And every year for a while, John Jacks would invite, either a sumo team of usually college guys. A few years he had Konishiki come out. And a few years he had like a Ace Yonamine. You know who Ace is? Ace is the actor who was in that movie, Necessary Roughness. Not Necessary Roughness. The one that Keanu Reeves was in as a quarterback.
The Replacements?
Wait, as a quarterback?
Yeah, Keanu was a quarterback in a movie.
Wait, what?
Replacements, that's right.
The Replacements? Okay.
Yeah. And so Ace Yonamine was a guy from Honolulu who used to who was a pro sumo for a little while. It didn't last long. But he ended up playing sumo wrestlers in movies and stuff like that. So he would have Ace come out, and also a guy named Rita Sato, who was also another pro, and another guy named John Collins. John Collins was this Japanese American who was this like right wing, nut. Whoa. And I used to have some serious fights with John Collins, man, about ideology. We'd be sitting there eating all this rice and meat and just going off on each other about ideology.
So like, oh no,
I love it.
Sounds like somebody else I know. Jeez Louise.
Yeah. So that's
Kelly Knighting and John Jacks be going at it all day, every day.
Yeah. Kelly being the Mormon,
yeah. Kelly got some weird views, man. But
but okay. So,
hey, Kevin. Quick question. What has sumo gave back to you? The personal growth wise, right? Because we take our damage, right? Justin's got probably no ankle mobility. His back creaks.
Shoulder,
my knees are different. My neck is different. Christina broke her ankle doing sumo and then still representing.
And I do it again.
Like,
that's the
we all give stuff, but it gives back, and it's a personal growth.
Yeah.
Right. Can you speak about what you've received?
Sure. A couple detached retinas, torn tendons, torn ligaments, broken fingers. I remember I fought one of the top Mongolians once and almost beat him. I'm so angry, but I ended up with a broken hand because I fought him. But anyway, that's just the physical problems. But I'll tell you something: the effect sumo had on me and has had on me is incalculable. I can't even begin to repay the sumo gods, so to speak, for what they've done for me. Growing up, I was this chubby little unathletic kid, although, I don't think I was that unathletic because I was fast. I wasn't real strong, but I could play soccer. I was an excellent soccer player. I even wrestled some and played hockey. Baseball.
You sound pretty athletic. Pretty athletic.
I was gonna say.
I was a serious baseball fanatic, man. I played baseball from the time I was 5, and I just loved baseball so much growing up. I mean, remember I came up in the 70s, man. Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, Roberto Clemente, J.R. Richard, Manny Mignoso, Ernie Banks. All these dudes, man, I was just a huge fan of all of them. But, when I found sumo, I think I found what I was meant to do in terms of a sport. I had, when I first started sumo, I knew that I wasn't going to be a Yokozuna or a top amateur, like a Manny. But I knew, I just knew that if I worked hard enough and studied hard enough, and believe me, for me, studying was more important than working physically, I would get kashi-koshi. I'd win more than I would lose, and that's all I wanted to do was win more than I lost.
That's a good way to look at life.
That's the only thing I wanted to do in life is win more than I lost, and I have. both in the ring and outside the ring. I've won more matches than I've lost. And that's the
Nice.
only thing that I could ask for, and I was granted that. And I am so thankful that I was able to do that. I mean, I no matter what happened in my life, I always knew, I can get in the ring and do sumo and everything will be all right.
That's right.
I can also remember that sumo is really giving me a chance to really make impacts on people that I never expected. I mean, I remember being in Switzerland and doing sumo and talking to people that I never thought I would talk to. I remember I was in Switzerland doing demonstrations, and I met these two people, a man and a woman, American, who were pro basketball players over there. So, we got to hang out and talk and spend time together. And it's like, I would have never met these people, had we not.
Yeah.
Had I not been a sumo. And then I also met somebody else over there. This was very interesting. This woman, blonde hair, blue eyed. I thought she was Swiss. And but then I don't even know how we got into speaking Spanish with each other, but we're speaking Spanish, and she had said something pretty insulting about Manny, and I basically told her that was just not the right thing to do and not the right thing to say about anybody, and that she was totally wrong, and so she apologized, and then I asked her, where'd you learn Spanish? And she looking at me like, you idiot, I'm from Spain. Because in my life, man, the people I know speaking Spanish look like me. So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, lo siento, mami,
Lo siento, mami.
Yo, carajo, puñeta, I couldn't believe how I screwed up that. It's pretty funny. But there's another story I have to tell about that.
Mr. Kizzart?
What I did?
Yeah, your question?
I had my question earlier about Manny.
Oh.
Well, I could go on more about Manny, that's for sure. The thing that I really, and that people don't really know about Manny, and that's kind of what I had to tell the Spanish lady, is that Manny is a very intelligent man. Mm-hmm. He was a guy who always knew the right way to say things and the right way to put things. He was, for loss of a better word, he was extremely articulate and well-spoken. He was this gigantic African-American man who could basically converse on anything, on any subject. And, he did go to college, but he wasn't what you would call highly educated. And he tells stories about Morgan State and the things that he would do there. But he has always really, he's done a lot of TV and a lot of appearances in life. And every time you saw him, he had a wit and he had a native intelligence that very few people have. And that's something a lot of folks don't really realize about him. They just saw this big dude, thought he was this big lumbering guy with a low voice.
Right.
No,
very bubbly, like approachable, charming even. Like I did a deep dive recently where I was just watching him on all the late night shows, and like they would bring in a bug or a beetle and be like, "Oh, this is the same size as you," and he's like, and he'll have a quick little snap back to it. It was really cool.
Very good with that.
We talk about kind of, and I think what you're lifting up about what people, I think what kind of non-Black people don't know or wouldn't expect from Manny. We talk about on the show how, and we talked about it earlier, right? Just how one of the anti-Black racism does a lot of things. And one of the nastiest things I feel like it does is make, us as amazing Black people who, they make us one-dimensional.
Yes.
It doesn't, seeing me as a Black person, seeing Manny, of course, of course he was all these things, but just it being so unfortunate that, and on other shows we've talked about this too, that people will be like, oh, y'all as Black people, y'all are just athletic, you know. But it's like, nah, bro, like we're
more than that.
We're studied, we're strategic, and and those couple of seconds in the dojo, like many turned that time into a lifetime and wore people out in there, and but appreciating you for that, Kevin.
We had a really fun thing over he was in the Czech Republic, and you know, they you know, with Manny, they always like to bring little kids into the dojo with him, and and so he's like he's there after, you know, being in the ring with like 20 some kids one by one, and the last kid they bring in there is this little black kid, you know. They're like, a black kid in the Czech Republic. And Manny's like, oh my God, because he remembered the last time he was in the Czech Republic. I was like, oh my God, it's Manny Jr.
Oh, snap.
As far as we know, that was not the case.
What if that kid just looked up and said, Papa?
Exactly. Oh, Manny probably would have run out the ring.
Yep.
But it was so funny. It's like they bring the little black boy up here, and he was a little, you know, big chubby black boy too. It's like,
Kevin, do you have any questions for us?
Yeah, I'd like to know something about your stories. You know, how you guys got into sumo, and what motivates you to strive for excellence in and outside the ring.
Ooh, Christina?
I like that.
Yeah, this is a Christina question, I'm sure.
Yes, I love it. Well, I got into sumo because of JJ. So we would go every Sunday to train with, and Justin was in LA, or where we trained. Yep. So it became a part of like me and JJ's like Sunday ritual. We leave San Diego early, head up there. I would like record JJ's matches.
Yep, the 5 freeway.
Yeah. Drive for like 2 hours, an hour and a half. And then we grab lunch afterwards. And then so I would start sometimes practicing with some of the folks, and then they had a tournament and women had come through and there weren't enough competitors, and so JJ went to go weigh in, and then he came outside to the car because I was like sleep, because I was like whatever. I was like I love your life, I'm here to support you, but I need a nap. And he was like, Christina, do you want to they need other women to compete, will you do it? And I was like, yeah, sure. so like I showed up, and like I won, and the way I won twice, and
second place.
And the girl out, the woman I went against was so mad about losing, and I loved it. I didn't know. I'm so sweet. I'm such a beautiful soul. But I loved it. I was like, you're demise. And she was like, she cheated. And then I got like more
she
mad.
Goes, she hit me in my face.
Like, oh my God.
Welcome to sumo, bitch.
And then my form was all raggedy and stuff, but I was trying to win. And then I met your lady, who's an amazing heavyweight.
Boricua, yes.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah. But it was it was just how much honor and respect folks have for the practice of sumo. Learning about it, and also you know how it is being in this world that's obsessed with skinny people, and I was somebody, I'm somebody who was a fat kid coming up, and then I got like sick and I got diabetes, and so I wasn't in a fat body no more. But I remember how mean I was treated for just being a fat kid, and if you a fat little girl, that's also like it's this whole other, it's a whole other layer of meanness.
Yes.
And so like seeing, being around other folks in fat bodies define what the limitations of being in a fat body, being heavyweight, being whatever weight I was. It was like a paradigm shift, and I needed that, and that's what sumo has given me. Like, as I get older and my body grows, because I'm growing stronger and just and older and wiser, I'm like not afraid of that changing, and that the love that I receive, from JJ, from people in my life, it won't change. No matter what my size is. And before sumo, that was something that I was very much married to and afraid of, and so outside the ring, sumo is giving me that too. Just like understanding that my body is, and all of our bodies, right, are so much more stronger than we give them credit for, and we together have to encourage each other that our bodies can do what they can do. So yeah, I love sumo, and it's giving me so much. And like, I got a little medal, so I'm the first American of African descent who's a woman to medal at Sumo World Championships.
Right.
Oh, that's dope. That's dope.
You are in history, my dear. You are part of history.
God,
It's nice.
Beautiful.
Kevin, I wear it around the house. I wear it at barbecues.
Medal.
Yeah, you know what? I would be doing that too. It's funny because
go ahead.
I won the technique prize at
Smells like success.
meet. I carried that thing around, man. He was giving me shit, man. He's like, "What is it?" Because it wasn't like what you got, which was a beautiful medal. It's just a little piece of junk. I carried that thing around like it was gold. Like,
yes, because it is gold.
Yeah.
I was at like a community brunch, and I was putting it on all the kids and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I was like, this is for us. This is, so like, yeah. But what about you, JJ? What about you?
My story, I still gotta really piece it together. There is a reason I haven't done a Y sumo for myself. It's because it's a very long, weird story with a flyer.
Those are the best ones.
Yeah, and I just gotta like sit down and digest it and really formalize it. So that will come soon. But I do know Mr. Kizzart's got his down.
Oh Lord, yeah. Well, for me, and I'll wrap this up quick. But for me, I met my wife. My wife is from Osaka. At the time, my girlfriend, we were dating and stuff. And then first time her and I went to Japan, we were at her parents' house, and she decided to dip. She was like, "I gotta go get my hair done," and I was like. At the time, I spoke no Japanese, and I was just like, and so I'm sitting there with her grandma in the kitchen, who's just like, no English, just kind of looking at me, and it was just like, so, Ohayou gozaimasu. I couldn't even say that back then. But what she did have on she had on the TV was the Osaka Basho.
Nice.
And my background, I've been doing mixed martial arts since I was a child. So like Korean style of martial arts that people don't really know called Kung Ju Musul, Jiu-Jitsu, and Judo, and a little bit of Sambo, and a few years of boxing. But
I did some Sambo. That's nice.
Yeah, but so with that in mind, watching sumo for the first time, like I had a fighter's eye for this, and I was just like, oh, they're not just fat guys. Like, hold on a second, they're not just fat guys bumping bellies. I was like, oh no, look, there's some judo right there. There's like some wrestling. So I was hooked, and that was March of 2016, and so I ended up watching sumo the whole rest of that spring and summer. Like any basho, I was just, and at it was really hard to find it, but I was trying to find it, and I found a few, one or two guys who was doing it at the time, and who was posting the pros, and I think around that September, I was like, oh man, I gotta know if there's sumo outside of Japan. Like, this is insane. And so I just Googled sumo outside of Japan, and then come to find out, Los Angeles had one of the largest teams in the nation at the time. And I just was like, yo, I'm doing this. I'm like, and I told my wife that, and she was just like, what are you talking about? And I was like, no, for real, I'm doing this. And so at the time they were up in North Hollywood, and I think it was that October, November, or whatever of 2016 that I had started. A few months in, and then by February I was going to my first nationals. I was just like, oh shoot, okay. Wow. And ended up getting silver in it. So beating Cornelius.
Cornelius Booker.
Gotcha, nigga.
Honestly, I think this is a good spot for us to wrap. I have to say, Kevin, it's been an honor. This is definitely not our last time talking. There's so much that I want to talk to you about. Also, I have to put together my whole life story. But I do have to say that it's really amazing that you started watching on NBC. I started watching on ESPN, and those little time slots, just being able to capture just a small piece of a basho, it pushed into us that beautiful art of sumo, that ritual of sumo. And from there, it made us search for it at some point in time in our lives. Now people are blessed with YouTube and Nato Sumo, Instagram. They have everything in their hands, and there's no reason why that people can't be exposed to it. So remember, guys, if you're out there, find a club. There's a federation, there's Instagram, there's YouTube. This is not, we are not the only Black people in sumo. Honestly, I think that if we really thought about it, it's a pretty good percentage of Black people right now doing sumo. That's what I can say. Currently, it's a very good percentage. Yes. So reach out there, try it out. Don't let the Mawashi scare you. It is not scary.
I feel like, you know what? To be honest, there might I don't want to get this wrong. It's close. There might be there might at least be one Black person per club.
Yes.
Name a club that doesn't have it.
There are probably a few like Utah or something.
No. Ohio, Utah. They got one.
They have one. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Right now,
Ohio
Sumo has Darius.
Wow. Rain City has theirs. Florida is good.
George in Salt Lake City.
You said they have a Black.
They have a Black. Florida. Even New York.
The problem is Hawaii.
New York's got one.
When I was out in Hawaii, I was it.
No, it is really.
I was the token popolo. I was in Hawaii.
Now life has gotten good.
So yeah, we out there. We Black, y'all. We're Black, y'all. We're blackity black, and we Black, y'all.
That's a fact.
All right.
Peace. Paz, ya no más.
Ya mata. Oh, whoa.